Perfect.
Hello, everybody. It's time for season 2 of One for One. I'm your host, Nolan Schumann, joined as always by my co-host, Miles Fuchs. Miles, it's season 2. Can you flippin' believe it?
I cannot believe it, Nolan. I mean, I can. Had a lot of fun last season and looking to do the same thing this year. So in that sense, I can believe it. But crazy to think that a whole year of swearing and being degenerates on the record has evolved into something that got a season 2. So I'm stoked to be back after my hiatus last week. I was listening to the episode today just so that I could be caught up, and you sounded sad. You sounded like you missed me. So I'm glad that I'm back and able to resume being weird with you.
Did I sound like I should be casted in the remake of the film Castaway starring Tom Hanks?
Wilson! No, but you did sound like you weren't swearing as much. I picked up. I got a zero count on the swear meter.
No, that's that.
No?
I know. No, I know for sure that didn't happen because when I was going through all the things you sent me, one of the points I say that's such a fucking Miles.
Oh yeah, that's
so
true.
I had to I sort of had to catch myself on that one, but yeah, it's part of my new oh my god, my fucking GarageBand already crashed. It's part of my my newfound, like, I guess whatchamacallit, new season resolution that I'm not going to swear as much.
Yeah, I'm not going to make that promise.
Well, I'm assuming the Oilers are probably going to make me mad enough where I'm definitely going to break that promise, but we'll see. You know what, Miles? I think I want to show you this. I brought a celebratory drink, and for once, it's not a Bud Light. Is that a cream soda? It's a cider, actually.
Oh.
We went on a nice little wine and cider tour over the weekend. It was a lot of fun. I got really drunk. I don't know if you saw my snaps clearly enough. I know that makes us sound like a couple of freaking millennials, but I was so intoxicated, and actually the entire group was intoxicated, that one of the guys that was there grabbed a Busch Light case and cut out a bunch of guitars, and we were running around this cottage we rented screaming Nickelback songs. Like full-blown, like, loser drunk screaming. But a part of that was stopping by, I believe it's County Cider, and they make a wonderful blood orange cider. So I'm going to...
No free ads.
Yeah, no free ads, unless you want to sponsor us. So here's to season 2. Oh yeah, that's good. That's good stuff. You'll also notice I now have a big desk that comes with a cup holder, which is so convenient. So convenient. Anyways, Miles, what else is new with you?
Not a whole heck of a lot. Starting off season 2, I was thinking, I'm like, what could be the intro topic? And then it hit me. So please bear with me as I take you about a little bit of a journey here, Nolan.
Okay.
So recently I've started talking to somebody again that I was friends with in high school, not romantically or anything like that, obviously, but just a friend reconnecting. And we were chatting about, kind of what you've been up to, what your interests are and hobbies and stuff like that. And she's like, oh, I really like cooking now. And I was like, oh, dope. Cooking is really sweet. Like, gotta eat. Like, what do you like to cook? And she was like, oh, I actually have an Instagram page of the food that I cook. You should check it out. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that like cool, whatever. So I'm sitting there and I'm scrolling and I'm checking it out. And sorry to interject here, Nolan, but is there any words that you have like a strong dislike towards? Like the obvious example is moist. Everybody hates the word moist.
So I've actually brought this up on the podcast before, but obviously I don't like when people sign off with using the term cheers. And I also hate when people call pop soda.
Okay, fair. Soda is a regional dialect thing, so we'll agree to disagree on that. However, there is a word that is significantly worse than moist. And for anybody who dislikes the word moist, you might have a counter going right now, and that I've said it in 4 different times this intro. But I just want to say there is something there is a word so much worse than moist, and it was used 4 times in her Instagram page describing food. And this is probably the last word I would like food ever described as. Do you know what word I'm talking about, Nolan?
It was like crusty.
Gooey.
Ew.
Gooey is
Ew.
the worst word ever.
Gooey is ewy.
If you're at if I'm at a restaurant and I see gooey, ooey gooey, or any variation of that word used on the menu, I am walking the fuck out. I am leaving a mile-sized hole on the wall, like in a cartoon. I'm out of there so fast. There's a vapor trail. That is the most. Enjoy this gooey treat I made you. No thanks, pedophile. I'm good. So, yeah.
I hope during Thanksgiving this year you make your gooey mashed potatoes.
I don't even know. So the bad part about that word is I don't even know if that's like you make good mashed potatoes or if that's like a euphemism. Like if you're what you're getting at. So yeah, needless to say, blocked, unfriended, unsubscribed, page reported. Get the hell out of here.
You're getting people sick.
You're getting people sick with your gooey lasagna.
Well,
if you don't agree, and full stop. If you think gooey is an acceptable word, you need to speak to a priest. I feel very strongly about this. I've been thinking about this for about a week, Nolan, and it's just been festering inside of me like a sickness.
Festering is also a pretty good, like, nasty word.
Yeah, but it's no gooey.
No, it's not nearly as bad as gooey. Festering makes me think of like an old toe fungus.
Yeah.
Kind of gross. Well, speaking of, I mean, I don't really know if we can call it gross because there's just a lot of stuff going on there. Today was honestly the perfect day to record, and for anybody wondering like when we're recording, we were supposed to record on Sunday, but we were supposed to record on the Sunday before. But long story short, a bunch of shit ended up happening, so we're recording a bit late. But nonetheless, we love the listeners enough that we were gonna get this episode out early so that we can get back on track this upcoming weekend. Anyways. I'm really glad we waited until today, Miles, because holy smokes, there is a lot to talk about.
What a wonderful Wednesday in the NHL world. We've got a jam-packed episode for all the listeners of the show today. Starting season 2 off with a click, click, boom. What we're going to be talking about here today, Nolan, do you like that? A little salvia reference?
That's an epic reference that actually requires one of these. Oh, can you actually see it? No, you can't. Anyways, I have lights on my desk, and I was trying to make it all cool and say this deserves like a skeet and lights, like 2 dabs and a Ric Flair. Is that what it is?
2 claps and 2 dabs. Take your THC pen and get out of here, buddy. Okay, so here's the docket for today. We're going to be talking about the Oilers, specifically rookie camp, game 2, electric boogaloo, first day of training camp. Crazy. Going to be doing a little bit of an NHL overview, talking about some COVID dummies and where things are happening around the league. Move into a little bit more NHL talk. Did you just bite him? Like, you eating chalk?
I did that just to fuck with you.
Yeah, let me enjoy my snack of small twigs and animal bones. We're going to be getting into a little bit of an NHL talk, talking about some of the COVID dummies. We're going to be talking about 2 former Oilers personnel that have taken on a new role in the NHL, which we can all share a laugh at. Then we'll be moving into a special shout out to a former NHL player doing some sweet things in the community. Talk about some players that just recently signed deals, some players that haven't signed deals. And then we are going to do a little bit of a divisional breakdown, as Nolan mentioned, specifically starting off with the Metropolitan Division. Wow.
Pretty good division. Pretty good division to talk about.
Damn good division, man. There was a lot of thought that went into this. THOT. So I'm excited to get into it and get talking about the division and the NHL. And I think with that out of the way, Nolan, why don't you start us off talking about the Oilers rookie camp and the game that took place against the Flames?
Well, they played a couple of since the last episode that I recorded by myself, of course. We had the last rookie game of the two game series between the Oilers and the Flames. Long story short, Ilya Konovalov played. He looked disgustingly good for a 5'11" Russian goaltender. Super athletic, was making all the big saves, looked like the best player on the ice. Couple other things. Raphael Lavoie looked really good. I think he's probably going to be on the Oilers a lot sooner rather than later. And I liked what I saw, but I think Philip Broberg is going to benefit really hard from going to the AHL to play under Jay Woodcroft and Dave Manson. Because I really like how Bakersfield has been developing a lot of the D-men, and I think Philip Broberg is going to be really great under that tutelage. And going back to Jay Woodcroft, I think he's going to. I've made this prediction. Well, I'm making this prediction now. I firmly believe Jay Woodcroft will be the next coach of the Oilers. All of the press conferences you see, the guy is so positive, has such a good relationship with all these young guys, realizes that you got to play the young players and you have to adapt to their styles and you got to try and build them into like consummate professionals. And I love everything I see from Jay Woodcroft, and I really, really, really hope that because Dave Tippett has 1 year left on his contract, and after that it's going to be year to year, and I would not mind seeing Jay Woodcroft taking over this team.
Yeah, man. I mean, for all intents and purposes, it sounds like he's a pretty well-liked guy, and he's doing a very good job in Bakersfield. The team's seen a lot of success. A lot of the players, as you said, under his tutelage, have turned into good professionals and strong professionals. So it would be really interesting to see what he can do with the talented roster that the Oilers do have, and yeah, with the rapport that he would have with the young guys that would be coming up with him. So Tippett. Fire is underneath you there, buddy. And if it is Woodcroft, that'd be awesome. I just hate to lose him. That would be the only thing is him getting scooped up by another team. That would really, really suck. But
yeah, I think the fact that they kept him on after Todd McClellan left and they are still holding him around, I don't think he's going to end up leaving. I really do think that they are grooming him to be the next head coach of the Oilers, because I just don't see Dave Tippett wanting to do this for another 5 years. I think that Dave Tippett could be either on his if they don't do anything in the playoffs this year, I'm gonna be on like blank watch. But I'm also then I think Dave Tippett is also gonna be fucking like watch out there, friend, because this isn't good. But yeah. No, I'm happy to see that. And basically, what's crazy is that all the rookies are basically like pretty much everybody from rookie camp is all invited to training camp, which I think is really funny. But like I mentioned in the previous show, Dmitry Samorukov and Dylan Holloway are obviously out for the next little while, which is a big boo. But what can you do, right?
Big boo, what can you do? Samorukov, broken jaw, how long's he gone for?
About 6 weeks, it's looking like.
6 weeks?
Yeah. Tough. It's a tough dog to suck, Ryan.
Time flies when you're having fun. First day of training camp, Nolan. The D1K era,
or otherwise known as Dick.
Yes. Explain what's going on there, and then explain the nickname, because it's
so
not totally hitting.
So the reason why I say the D1K era is off to it.
I thought it was gonna be a hit. Turns out it fucking
sucks. The D1K era off to a blazing start. So, what that means is the Duncan Keith era is off to a blazing start. The origin of the D1K nickname comes from when Duncan Keith celebrated his 1,000th game with the Chicago Blackhawks, and he created his own logo that said D1K, and everybody clowned on him because they said that spells dick. And so it's pretty funny. I think for the rest of the season, I will continue to call him D1K. Anyways, as everybody probably knows, he is missing the first week of training camp due to the quarantine because he just received his second COVID dose. And now that I think about it, Tom Gazzola actually tweeted not too long ago that he went to the U.S. and received the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. So that is why he is out for the next week or so. Wow, even though he was at the captain's skate, which... We'll get into that when we talk about the Ken Holland press conference, because that was a complete and utter disaster. But in addition to that, Alex Stalock has a heart condition apparently due to COVID complications. Not ideal. It just reminds you that, like, I don't care if you're young. I don't care how old you are. Like, this shit's serious, and, like, you got to get yourself taken care of and make sure that you're being safe. I know probably fucking stick to sports guys are probably losing their minds right now. But anyways, yeah, like, very serious condition. Holland doesn't expect him to play for the rest of the season, so that really sucks because I was really hoping Alex Stalock would come in and be awesome. Yeah. So Miles, should we get to the Ken Holland press conference? Should we just quickly? We won't talk about it too long, but I just really want to talk about it.
You go ahead, King.
So, okay. So Ken Holland basically got asked about, and you know what? I will save the one member of the Oilers that is currently away from the rest of the team because he's currently not participating in getting the vaccine. Ken Holland was basically asked about this one player, and the rule of thumb from the NHL was that if a player has had the vaccine or has gotten the vaccine but has not let the 2 weeks pass by since either your second dose or your one Johnson & Johnson dose, that you have to quarantine for that 2 week time period. What's kind of funny about that is that Duncan Keith is coming in to camp a week late after all we heard last year was about how Ethan Bear came in out of shape and he's fucking traded off into the sunset and, we wanted to make sure he was coming in good shape. Well, Duncan, you're already a step behind. Secondly, the next question following that was this unidentified player, which, like I said, we'll get to, is currently allowed to come to training camp, and so essentially the reporters kind of called Ken Holland out on this. Jesus, I can't speak today, and they said, why was he at the captain's skate? Because obviously there were photos taken of him, like, and posted all over the Oilers social. Oh, Duncan Keith is here. And he kind of got sidetracked and kind of froze and didn't know where to go with this. And it just reminded me that I really want Ken Holland to do good, but holy smokes, like, it's really tough to watch. So yeah, basically doing a lot of stumbling over his words and all that jazz, like we kind of expect with Ken Holland at this point. And then he also mentioned too, when asked about adding an additional veteran goaltender, he said that he was not planning on it. So, which makes me think that guys like Ilya Konovalov and Stuart Skinner have a real, genuine shot at being the Oilers' backup this season, which in one part is really exciting and in one part really frightening. So we'll see, because they're going to have to battle with Mikko Koskinen, I'm just about done here, but Mikko Koskinen's press conference, the first question, I mentioned this on the last show, Jim Matheson just throwing heat right from the beginning, basically asking Mikko Koskinen, Mikko, how do you think your season went personally? You might as well say, hey, Mikko, how did it feel being a piece of shit goaltender last season? Like, and it's so frustrating to see this, because while I was really mad at Mikko Koskinen this last season, and while I was also really mad that they were not able to move off of Mikko Koskinen, I feel really bad for the guy, because I feel like the Edmonton media, when they're doing these press conferences, like openly shit on Mikko Koskinen, and he's just supposed to take it, and it feels very gross, and especially when you hear the media write these, think pieces saying the fans were the ones that drove these guys away. Are you sure? Because it really sounds like the media, but what can you do?
No, it is the fans that ultimately drive them away, but who's, up top pulling all the strings, making everybody believe a narrative one way or the other, right? The think tank has to be controlled by somebody, and that's generally the beat reporters and those close to them and their opinions of it. But I mean, even if you weren't somebody who's a reporter or whatever, you watch a few of those games and like, he just had a bad season last year. There's really no way around it. But still, it's not fair to ask a guy that first question into camp. Maybe spin it a different way. Like, hey, Nico,
just say like,
last season wasn't the best season. How did you prepare this offseason to come in better?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Give the guy the benefit of the doubt. Like, encourage him to want to be better.
Yeah, instead of just starting the season off with him as a whipping boy. So I really hope that Mikko Koskinen comes out this year and, like you said, gives a hell of a backup goalie battle with Konovalov and Skinner, and that, may the best player win and the Oilers are better represented in the crease. That would be the ideal scenario there. As for the unvaccinated player, excited to talk about that one because we have been stoked about him for a little while. Were there any other points you wanted to talk about on the Ken Holland presser, or do you want to move right into the meat and potatoes?
Let's move into the COVID dummies.
So COVID dummies, italicized, pack your shit. The players that have absolutely flubbed the start of the season. And let's just say right off the get-go that Deputy Commissioner Bill Daly came out. It's Bill Daly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Bill Daly came out a few weeks ago and said that the league is currently at about 97% vaccinated, 97% vaccinated total, which is fan-freaking-tastic. As a league compared to the NFL or MLB or
really good.
NBA, that is fantastic.
Yep.
As a fraction of society, that is unbelievable. Good for the NHL. But it begs the question, who are those that are not?
It's like a game show.
Yeah. What's the, oh my God.
It's like Deal or No Deal.
No, what's the big red thing? And I think you should leave. It's a chunky. Which one? Where's the chunky? So where is the COVID dummies, as we are calling them? And that brings us to the next segment of the show. Let's start with the one that maybe you know of or maybe you don't. The player that we have been dancing around all episode. Since Nolan shared the tweet with me, I will let him share with you that our first COVID dummy is.
Before I get into this, do you like all my
Yes,
all my nicknames?
Yes.
So the first one is Josh Farchibald, otherwise known as Josh Archibald. He is the one that has not gotten the COVID vax yet, and nobody should be surprised because all you have to do is take a quick gander at his Twitter account and see some of the shit he has retweeted and liked. Big OAN guy, big Fauci is a liar guy. What were you going to say, Miles?
On May 6th, 2020, Josh Archibald, verified account, the hidden agenda behind COVID-19 pandemic, in brackets, was COVID-19 a plan? YouTube link via YouTube. This is the ratio, ladies and gentlemen. 24 replies, 35 retweets, 18 favorites. Yeah. Ooh, ooh.
So
Josh, no. Why is it the one player on the Oilers from Regina? Why does he have to do this to me?
Yeah, and considering Ethan Bear's gone, we don't even have him anymore.
Back in Saskatchewan, we lack three things.
I was kind of expecting this because I've seen that I've known about that Twitter account for a while, since since the beginning of the pandemic, and I kind of said to myself, "Are you fucking kidding me? Like, come on!" And in addition to that, the Oilers also made those PTO signings. Well, I guess Brendan Pierlina was not a PTO; he was just an actual. he was an actual signing himself, but the signing of Colton Sevier to a PTO was the other kind of giveaway, because you're signing a bottom six sort of versatile winger that can penalty kill and can play some pretty decent defensive minutes for you. I think he might actually be better than Josh Archibald, personally speaking, but you never know. So we kind of figured that as much, but it's just so frustrating. And as Ken Holland said in his press conference, they did the math, which I really hope somebody like supercuts that for a clip on Twitter and you can see that. But they basically said, Ken, how many games do you think a player will be able to play if they're not vaccinated? And he says, well, we did the math. All of us got together and we did the math. And then Mark Spector said, okay, so how many games could the player play? Well, after doing the math, we looked at it and, it's looking about 30 games. So 30 games out of an 82-game season that Josh Archibald would be able to play. At a $1.5 billion.
And that's because the Oilers, we spend more time in the United States than in Canada, correct?
Exactly.
So the alternative, we'll get to in the next player, but sorry, $1.5 million, you're saying?
$1.5 million cap hit. So what should be happening is they should basically say, okay, Josh, well, the choice is yours. You can either get the vaccine and play, or you can be chucked on a long-term injured reserve and and the Oilers should not have to pay that cap hit, because that's complete and utter bullshit. It's
suddenly Nikita Kucherov has a sore throat and a fever.
Like, I know we're getting, you know what, we won't really get into the whole vaccine discussion, but it's like, the way I see it is like, if the NHL is basically saying like, get your vaccine, get your fucking shot. And on the next player we're going to get to, which we might as well get to him right now. Do you really have anything else to say about Josh Archibald?
Nothing else on Archibald. I really want to talk about Tyler Bertoluzzi.
Did you also notice in his first name what I did?
The capital L.
Yeah.
You can't spell Tyler without an L. Tyler Bertuzzi is not getting the vaccine. Just won't play Canadian teams. Will forfeit nearly $400,000 in salary. And it's not like that's not that big of a deal, right? I mean, he's just in the Atlantic Division. He only plays 3 Canadian teams within his division that he won't be able to go to those away games. Interesting. That's fine. It's fuck all.
Yeah, plus also the rest of the league as well, which is so. I mean, I think in total it was something along the lines of like 8 to 10 games. I can't remember. Somebody ended up tweeting it that he's gonna end up missing. And I think the really interesting discussion we're gonna get to about this is that the vaccine is really testing like hockey team culture. Because we always think about hockey as this like team sport and like, oh, the guys go out for one another and like they'll do whatever they can in order to like stand up for their brothers. But it's like this vaccine thing is now it's like, are you going to get it because the rest of your team got it? And then are you just going to be the one black sheep that can only play so many games? Or are you just going to be like, all right, I got to get this thing just so I can play? Like that's like at the end of the day, like that's really what it really comes down to. And Tyler Bertuzzi, from what we know so far, we don't know the rest of the players that are still unvaccinated, is probably like the best player that has actively said he's not getting vaccinated. So,
yeah, he's a fantastic hockey player. I was really big on him for a really long time. This absolutely affects my opinion of him, which is, part of the culture around what's going on with the world and vaccinations and whatnot. And it's no different than, your friend since middle school that won't get it and you can't hang out with them and all that sort of stuff. So, it sucks that Tyler Bertuzzi won't get it. He's a good hockey player. I hope he figures it out. I hope somebody in that locker room grabs him by the hair and says, hey, buddy, and makes it happen. But this is the best one, the best for last. This one is pretty well documented, so I'm sure the folks at home know who this is. But if you don't, Nolan, who is it?
Zach Renault, don't you realize you won't get a job in the National Hockey League? Booted off of Columbus's training camp roster because obviously not getting the vaccine. But in addition to that, just the cherry on top of the shit Sunday, he was spotted at a PPC rally, which, in case you were not aware of our Canadian election, PPC is the People's Party of Canada, which is a very far right
Stop talking about them. They don't deserve it.
party. They got no seats in the election. Anyways, but yes, he was spotted at a PPC rally with the classic with the classic anti-vaxxer line. I'm not against masks. I'm not against vaccines, but I am pro-choice. So.
No, I just think people should have the freedom of choice. The classic.
Oh yeah,
classic line.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Which
they would not be caught dead saying pro-choice. Most of those people.
No. 99.9% of the time, if you use that as your logic, I would agree with you. I think that from a moral standpoint makes a lot of sense. However, when it is a global pandemic, that is the 0.1% of the time where it becomes we and not me.
Yeah,
Zach Ronaldo, blew it.
Yeah, like you could have had a real Chad moment and like got your vaccine, but you're pulling a real virgin moment instead. So sorry, friend.
Zachary.
The last thing
better known as Rhino from his Flames days.
Yeah, and also better known as the freaking dweeb that dyed his hair with freaking Milan Lucic because they looked sick together. So, really terrible hockey player. Like, don't mean to sound like a dick, but like really, really, really bad NHL player. Like, sorry, I shouldn't say bad hockey player because like obviously would break my freaking ankles, but yeah, not a very good NHL player. Anyways, that pretty much does it for the COVID talk. One other thing I want to mention too is Ken Holland did say that during the Board of Governors meeting yesterday, they said that they expect the unvaccinated players to be down to single digits. So that's good.
Good work, NHL.
Next up, Miles, shall we get to some NHL talk?
Yes, we shall, Nolan. And this is some breaking news.
Fox News here. Tucker Carlson is reporting.
Actually got this from an insider. And by insider, I mean I knew about it before he did. But he said, LOL, can I be your insider? Shout out to Jackson Braylene. Big news. Welcome back to the National Hockey League, Peter Chiarelli.
Oh, let's go, baby.
Big Pete was hired by St. Louis as the vice president of hockey operations. And if that wasn't sweet enough, Nolan, his pal Ken Hitchcock, better known as 10-inch Cock, has been hired as a coaching consultant for the St. Louis Blues. Excited to talk about the Central Division in our in their own discussion because the St. Louis Blues are about to go down like the Titanic. It is going to be a bad scene. Everything Peter Chiarelli touches turns to poop.
I really hope that they decide to fire Doug Armstrong, but I know Doug Armstrong is too smart to lose his job. But holy smokes, would I be excited to see Peter Chiarelli take over.
Back. Oh, I want to see Big Ken back behind the bench.
They just fire Craig Berube and bring on Ken again, and he has to like. Do you remember that video of him? I feel like I've brought this up before, but like that video of him having to hold onto the boards while he's walking across the ice. I think that's so funny.
Poor Ken, man.
Poor guy. And you remember when he got hired, and then they were like, what do you expect to do? I know what the problem with this team is, and I think I can fix them. And then it's like, and then he says, I'm going to call up Jesse Puljujärvi and I'm going to fix him. And lo and behold, Jesse Puljujärvi would go on to blow 2 hips and then request a trade.
He's a Puljujärvi. Yeah. Could you imagine being Connor McDavid, being the fastest guy on skates, and Ken Hitchcock's like, hey, you're doing it wrong. And you're like, don't fucking tell me I'm doing it wrong, Ken. Like, I cannot imagine what that was like for those guys. That was
the worst year of hockey for me. That was the absolute worst year of watching hockey.
Remember when you grew a mustache for Peter Chiarelli, when he inspired you to grow a mustache after the 17 Cup run?
That wasn't even after the 17 Cup run. That was during McDavid's rookie season.
Calling it the cup run in 17 is the epitome of being a loser.
Well, yeah, it is.
Isn't that fucking sad?
Yeah.
But not as sad as St. Louis Blues fans are because you just got the Midas touch of Peter Chiarelli. Enjoy your remaining years.
I'm calling it right now. Tarasenko for half retained for Zach Kassian at full value and Mikko Koskinen. Who says no?
Certainly not Father Pete. Father Pete invests.
He's like, oh, that's
roof.
value right there. Anyways, Miles,
Speaking of
what's
value,
up next?
Nolan, we're gonna do a little jumping around here. Speaking of value, the 40-year-old rookie is back. Kirill Kaprizov last night just signed an extension with the Minnesota Wild for 5 years at $9 million average annual value. Shout out to Kirill. 27 goals, 24 assists, 51 points in 55 games played last year. As I'm sure you know, unless you were living under a rock, he won the Calder Award as Rookie of the Year. Good dude. Minnesota, Bill Guerin said about a week ago that he was not worried about contract negotiations with Kaprizov. So obviously he had a good feeling about things. And we found out yesterday that he was coming back to the state of hockey.
So that was what I wanted to check out next. I wanted to see cap friendly because I want to see where they stand for salary right now. I want to know if they're like fully decked out.
After a big buyout summer, the signing of Kaprizov, they signed another player this summer. You're smiling, which makes me nervous.
They've got $3.2 million in salary still, and just seeing here. They could still make it work. They could make a Jack Eichel trade happen. If they were waiting on Kaprizov to sign, they could still make a Jack Eichel trade happen. I could easily see them moving around some of this money. Yeah, I could see it.
Can you do me a favor and see how much Vegas has? Vegas, I know, is pretty much right up against the wall, but they'd have to move some money up. So a dollar in, dollar out kind of situation.
Vegas, believe it or not, Miles, has $0.
$0.
Literally $0.
That's something the Las Vegas Golden Knights and I have in common, being broke.
But guess what? That didn't stop them from doing jack shit. Cause you know what? Cause you know what they think of the salary cap? They don't give a rat's ass.
They're gonna they don't care about it. Speaking of not caring about it, if there was, I don't know, a 44-year-old defenseman, you would probably say, hey, I'm going to stay away. But not the New York Islanders, Nolan. And that is because Zdeno Chara is going back to where it all began. The New York Islanders have signed Zdeno Chara to a 1-year deal where the salary was not disclosed. Makes me think he will be making the league veteran minimum. Retirement homes, hold off just a little bit longer. Ya boy is going to Long Island.
I like the fit. I don't think he was all that bad last season. I feel like Capitals fans will probably disagree with me because I could very well be wrong, but I just think it's I love seeing a guy going back to his old team. I just think that's really cool. It's like when we saw Sam Gagner come back to Edmonton. It was just like it made you feel warm inside.
Yeah. Guy made his NHL debut in 1997, the same year that Matthew Barzal was born. I like those little tidbits. I think they're funny.
It's also really funny that he got traded as a part of a package for Alexei Yashin by the Islanders, by Mike Milbury. Really, really unbelievable trade history from Mr. Mike Milbury.
Unbelievable. Speaking of unbelievable, Nolan, did you know that Elvis has got some new suede shoes? Elvis Merzlinkins, the goaltender for the Columbus Blue Jackets, has signed a 5-year, $27 million contract, good for a 5.4 annual average value. He had 23 starts last season. He went 8, 12, and 5 on a pretty poopy defensive team with 2 shutouts. Columbus Blue Jackets general manager.
Jarmo Kekalainen.
said in an interview that he is going to be sticking with a tandem of goaltenders between Merzlikins and Jonas Korpisalo, which is a pretty expensive tandem now that Merzlikins is going to be making north of $5 million. So let's see how that works out for you. Makes me think, if I was an early season bettor, that depending on how things shake out, there could be a potential trade there with the Oilers for Korpisalo.
I don't really know if I want Jonas Korpisalo.
I don't. Nolan either. If you compare the numbers between him and
Koskinen, they're very
Koskinen
similar.
last year, they're extremely similar. So yeah, don't know if that's really what I want. I'm just saying, if I was an early season betting man, don't know how that works. But
never stopped Ken Holland before. Boy, that guy's
got baby.
That guy's got a trigger finger on him. Yeah. Anyways,
trigger fingers turn to Twitter fingers. Shout out Drake. Was there anything else you would like to talk about, or can I stand on my soapbox for a few minutes?
Stand on your soapbox.
So this is one that I was really excited about, something that made me really happy. I saw on the NHL.com about a week or so ago. I want to give a special shout out to Al Montoya. Now, if you're thinking, who the heck is Al Montoya? I know that name from somewhere. The 2004 American World Junior goalie from Helsinki, absolute stud, played a few years at the University of Michigan, as well as being a former Edmonton Oiler, is doing some awesome work as the Stars Director of Community Outreach. A couple weeks ago, he gave free tickets he gave free tickets to Stars games to Hispanic Americans at the El Super Clasico soccer game between a few super teams from Mexico. They were up in North America playing a friendly, and it was a really big event in the Hispanic community. There were fans from Florida, Arkansas, Illinois, obviously Texas, Carolinas. Like, they were from everywhere. Huge event, massive stadium sellout, and they've got Al Montoya there giving people tickets to Stars games. The former Coyote, Islander, Jet, Panther, Hab was drafted 6th overall in 2004 and was the 3rd player of Hispanic descent to be drafted into the NHL after Bill Guerin and Scott Gomez, arguably paving the way for guys like Austin Matthews. And from this community outreach, hopefully a lot more Hispanic kids and Latino Americans are going to be getting into hockey. And I just think that that's awesome.
That's really awesome.
He had a really heartwarming story about his time in Florida, obviously playing in Miami and he's of Cuban descent. People were, like, in the Cuban community were coming to games. He was giving them tickets. Like, it actually was bringing some new fans, some new life to the Florida Panthers franchise. People were bringing him, like, food and dishes and, like, clothes and, like, handmade trinkets and stuff, like, just the epitome of, like, Spanish hospitality. So if that's the impact that one person can have on an entire community, it's going to be awesome to see what he can do as the Director of Community Outreach in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, where 42% of people are Hispanic.
Holy shit.
So there is a tremendous amount of growth potential for the Dallas Stars, as well as potentially a team coming to Houston, another big hotbed in Texas. So
Coyotes.
So I really like what Al Montoya is doing. I think that he's an awesome face for, to be that community outreach member for Dallas and for the NHL. And it's nice to see. I shit on the NHL a lot for decisions that they make, but it's really nice to see them nabbing an ambassador like Al Montoya to reach the Hispanic community. So good on you, NHL. Good on you, Stars. And good on you, Al Montoya.
And good on you, Miles. That was really good. I really like that. Miles, just give me a thumbs up for anybody that couldn't hear his thumbs up.
Well, Nolan, if you really liked that, you're really going to like what we get into next, which is the Metropolitan preview. And I promise I'm not going to be praising people. I'm going to be a jerk.
Yeah.
I'm going to ruin a friendship in this preview.
So so to kind of break it down for the audience, how we're going to do this right now is we're going to start by, I basically rank them off of their points percentages from last year because they were all fucked up in the different divisions. So I put everyone together in the order that they finished in, starting with the worst all the way to the best. And then at the very end of this, we will rank them all, and we will say where we think they're going to be. Now, Miles, I did leave you with a task to say who the player you think will be the most valuable player on each team, as well as a like bold prediction for each of these teams. Just one bold prediction for each team, and then for like the Oilers, we'll have like 17 of them. But anyways, starting off, we're going south of New York to the hotbed of the Sopranos, New Jersey.
You ever been to Newark? You jabroni, you fucking gabagool. Go Devils. That's what I'm saying here.
Go Ilya Kovalchuk and Zach. Why did I go immediately? Why did I not just go to Scott Niedermayer? I'm a fucking idiot.
Yeah, Ilya, okay, NHL social media. Who's the first player you think of when you see this logo?
Ilya Kovalchuk and the Devils was unreal.
Yeah, he was elite. It's fine. They didn't win a cup. New Jersey went 19-30-7 last year for a 0.366 points percentage.
Yeah, or like 37% points percentage. That works too.
Hey, what a fucking
gabagool.
A couple of subs, a little bit of gold cuts. You never had it before.
So I basically, the way that I did this is I put everything into a table of the additions versus the departures, and like we don't have to read every one of them off, but we can just kind of sort of like compact it into where we see this team going. I mean, this team got, you could say I mean, it's not hard to say. They got a ton better over this offseason. They picked up the belle of the ball in free agency in signing Dougie Hamilton to a 7-year deal worth about $9 million per year. They traded for a guy I almost said his dad's name, Ryan Graves from the Colorado Avalanche. A pretty decent like shutdown left side defenseman, really good. And then just a couple of really nice pickups in Thomas Tatar and Jonathan Bernier. They really didn't lose much. They traded a guy like Will Butcher, who just, unfortunately, after that really great rookie season, just has not been able to keep up and just has not looked like that really dynamic puck mover. And they have that in Ty Smith right now. And then just like losing guys like Ryan Murray and Sammy Vatanen, those are guys you don't mind moving off of in free agency. But they made the late free agent addition to pickup of Thomas Tatar, which is massive because I'm a big Thomas Tatar guy. I don't know. I think you like Thomas Tatar as well, and also Jonathan Bernier.
We both talked about Thomas Tatar potentially coming to the Oilers and how we were both excited about that and never really materialized. So yeah, you could say big pickup by the Big Devils.
Just gives them another goal scorer. They still need forward help, and that could be coming on the way with some of the younger guys in the system, including a top 10 pick in Alexander Holtz, Nolan Foote, who was picked up by the Lightning, or who was drafted by the Lightning and then obviously moved to the Devils in the Blake Coleman trade, as well as a guy like Dawson Mercer, who they picked in the late first in 2020 as well. So those are guys that could potentially make the roster, and with the Devils forward core being as bad as it is, I would not be surprised if that were to happen. Miles, who do you really like off this team? And what's your little bold prediction?
So my whole thing about the Devils is that I think that they are trending upward. I like a lot of the players that they have that are young guys that are showing a lot of promise. The move of Dougie Hamilton is huge in the sense that not only are you getting the belle of the ball best defenseman in free agency, but you're also showing that people in the NHL still see them as like a hockey destination or as a place where you can go to win. So the fact that Dougie went there shows that players in the NHL are not afraid of New Jersey, believe in the core that they've got there, and are excited about them. So once PK Subban is out of there with that big contract and tough-looking skating, I'm not a big PK Subban guy. I think that they're going to get a little bit more experience with some of those younger guys. I think that they're going to be very, very good. Unfortunately, I do not think that will be next year. Pretty easy to say that the MVP for me anyway is going to be Douglas Hamilton. And my bold prediction for them is that they are going to do the greatest gift to the Edmonton Oilers. and that is win the Shane Wright sweepstakes so that no one associates the first overall pick with the Oilers anymore. It is now the Devil's curse. Thank you very much, New Jersey, for taking that. I think they're going to be really shitty this year still, unfortunately.
That would be a stupid center core of Nico Hischier, Jack Hughes, and Shane Wright.
Obviously, I don't think that they're going to finish last. I'm just making a joke. My bold predictions are mostly funny.
They could still win that spot.
But they could still win that spot because I think they're going to end up pretty low in this division.
I was thinking about it, and like it's crazy to say, but PK Subban is basically a bottom pairing defenseman on this team now because like you have Dougie Hamilton, Damon Severson on the right side already.
Making not bottom pairing defenseman money.
Very much not bottom pairing. If you think Chris Russell is overpaid for a bottom pairing defenseman, just you wait. I really like a lot of guys on this team, but I'm with you. I still don't see this team being able to go very far. I like the addition of Jonathan Bernier. I think that's really underrated. Jonathan Bernier has been like quietly really good over the last couple of years, especially in Detroit, like putting up pretty damn good numbers on a like really stinky Detroit team. But for their MVP, I mean, I as much as I really love Dougie Hamilton, and it's probably a bit of a cop-out to say this, I'm going to put my stock into Jack Hughes. I think Jack Hughes is really good. I think the advanced numbers show that he is really, really, really good. It's just a matter of finishing on a lot of those chances, and the guy has a ton of confidence. And I think once he kind of puts it all together, and once the guy gets on a bit of a heater, I think he's going to go off. My bold prediction for this team is I think Alexander Holtz will make the team and he will score 25 goals as a rookie, which I think is pretty good.
Pretty good. Yeah, no, for sure. Excited to see it. It'd be cool to see a rookie put up those kind of numbers. Let's see if they do it.
All right.
Next up, and this is surprising to me. So the Devils were at a .366. This next team is at a .375. I did not think they were that close to the Devils, but it is the Columbus Blue Jackets who finished last season with 18 wins, 26 losses, and 12 single points. Biggest thing in Columbus, I would say, is the departure of their coach, Jonathan Tortorella, Jonathan Hockey himself.
Jern
Tortorella, no longer behind the bench in Columbus. Now, how does that affect? I know he's not a key addition from a current addition, but he is a key addition. How does moving on from John Tortorella affect Patrick Laine in Columbus and his confidence there, in your opinion?
I think it's going to be pretty big. What the hell is their coach's name again? Fuck, I'm usually really good with this stuff. Blue Jackets. Oh my goodness gracious! Come on, Nolan, you're dropping the ball here. Brad Larson. So apparently, Brad Larson was with the assistant coach that Patrick Laine had like a bit of a spat with, which doesn't surprise me. But I love the idea of oh my heavens. I love the idea of a young coach taking a young player under his wing and basically saying, all right, let's fix these issues. Cause I don't think Patrick Laine is like cooked or like the NHL figured out Patrick Laine. I think he is still really good. I don't think it helped that Max Domi was injured basically all of last year. I'll get to my bold prediction about the Columbus Blue Jackets, but I really think that if you get him the right center to play with, and maybe that's a guy maybe that's Max Domi, maybe that's a guy like friggin' Alexander Texier, maybe it's I said Max, or maybe it's Jack Roslovic. Like there's so many ways you could go with it. I do think we're going to see a bit of a return to form for Patrick Laine. I could easily see him having like 35 goals this year. I mean, not up to that 50 goal pace that you wanted out of him when he was like fucking blowing the roof off in in Winnipeg, but I really do think that this could be huge for him. I'm surprised we've gone this long and we have not talked about the biggest move they made this season. Actually, they made two really big moves.
Well, I mean, they did make a huge move this offseason. However, I think that Line A trade was like landscape changing in the NHL for two franchises, and all the other division or all the other teams in those divisions that were affected by it. So that's why the biggest departure on that team would be pinnacle defenseman Seth Jones.
Septimus Jones.
Seth Smith Jones leaving for the Chicago Blackhawks to join his brother Seth. In return, Seth and Seth squared. In return, Adam Boquist, former teammate of friend of the show, Evan Bouchard, going back to the Columbus Blue Jackets, as well as underrated, Nolan, but Jake Bean from the Carolina Hurricanes coming over to Columbus, a player that we're really big on here at the One for One podcast. So we're excited to see that. What else do you figure, Nolan?
Yeah, so I really like Adam Boquist. I really like Jake Bean a lot. I also think that Zach Werenski is really good. Then they also had a guy like Sean Corrali in free agency, and then Yegor Chinnikov and Cole Sillinger as well could potentially make the team. I don't see Cole Sillinger making it just because he's so young, and I don't think Columbus wants to play young guys that quickly. But from everything you see from from everything you hear from the rookie camps and stuff like that they're like the Jackets are seriously considering it. I also forgot to write this in here. They also acquired Jacob Voracek. They traded out Cam Atkinson for Jacob Voracek. So that's also a really big move, bringing Voracek back in, a guy that can. I mean, if you throw Line A on a line with Jacob Voracek and just put whoever in the middle, I think that could be huge for Line A. I completely forgot to put that in because, Voracek's not a goal scorer. Voracek's a guy that will get you the puck and is really, really, really good at creating space and really good at creating those creating those opportunities for other players. But I guess I'll just get right into it. But my MVP for this team this season is going to be Zach Werenski. I just think Zach Werenski is going to be really good. I think he's going to be named captain this year. Obviously committed to Columbus long term. You do not see that very often because it's freaking Columbus. And I believe this team is going to make the playoffs. I think that their decor is so fucking dynamic that I think they're going to be really, really, really dangerous.
I also have Zach Werenski as my team MVP. I think that that's pretty self-explanatory. He's a very good NHL defenseman. He's going to be a leader for that team, just like you said. And I'm excited to see his fingerprints all over the leadership core and where this team goes. However, there's a word that starts with F that I will use for two teams in this division, and that word is fraud. I think that the Columbus Blue Jackets are a fraud team and will not be very good. I like what they have coming up in terms of Boquist and Sillinger and Bean and Johnson, that kid out of Michigan. He went whatever overall. He was another high
Kent
pick.
Johnson, yeah.
Yeah. And so Wiesel or whatever his name is, he's a defenseman. He was a third-round pick. He is currently playing this season with the Regina Pats. And while I'm excited for their future, I do not think that is next year. I think they are going to be frauds.
I think they're just going to be a really big pain in the ass to play against, and I think I think there's always a sneaky team. There's always that team that's like, oh, this team is going to be so bad. And then it's like midway through, and you're like, how does this team have 100 points already?
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, for sure, dude. Columbus 100 points. I'll bet you a stake on that.
I'm not going to bet on 100 points.
The halfway point of the season, Columbus is going to have 100 points. Nolan Schumann, put that on your forearm.
All right. Well, we better just get right to it because this is a team that made some freaking moves this offseason. The Philadelphia Flyers. 25, 23, and 8 for a .446 save, or not save percentage. Well, basically save percentage after the goaltending they got this season. Points percentage. Oh, I just burped. The key additions to this team, like a bunch of really big ones, and then also some really big departures as well. You got Cam coming in, Keith Yandel signing. Hold on. Martin Jones signing. That's not very good. You don't like to see that. Derek Brassard coming in as a depth guy. Same with Nate Thompson. Now, they did lose longtime flyer Jacob Voracek, Shane Gossespierre, Philip Myers, second overall pick, Nolan Patrick, Eric Gustafson to free agency, Robert Hagg, and Brian Elliott, of course. Now, I don't really think they're going to miss. I don't really think you're missing out on much. But obviously, the key to this team is Carter Hart. You have to hope that last year was a complete and utter fluke, because if your franchise goalie has the yips and is not very good, this could very well turn into another Steve Mason incident, and we don't want that.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm a 23-year-old goalie and I had a struggling season, and you were the worst in the NHL for team save percentage or goals against average or whatever the fuck they were. Yeah, absolutely. The guy I want coming in to help me figure that out is Martin Jones. Are you fucking kidding me? This is such a mirror of the San Jose Sharks disaster artist of a team that it's actually kind of funny. Look at some of the players that they brought in, and kind of similar to what San Jose did a few years ago with these big additions to defense that don't pan out. And then you're just an old, slow, shitty team with a young goalie that doesn't reach his potential. This was what I was referring to previously when I said that this division was going to ruin a friendship. I'm sorry to my gym buddy, good pal, Ramus Winston. Your team, the Philadelphia Flyers, is going to get my second F rating because they are a group of frauds.
Forgot to mention this too. You better hope Rasmus Ristolainen is bad just because of Buffalo, because he is really bad.
Can I get into my team MVP, Nolan?
Oh, no.
My team MVP is going to be Rasmus Ristolainen, and he's going to be my team MVP because he is going to prove me right in saying that it wasn't the Buffalo problem, that it was him all along. Frauds. Philly, gonna be another tough year. I don't want it to be another tough year. I would like, here's my perfect world scenario. Philadelphia doesn't make the playoffs. Philadelphia looks poor. They get a good draft pick. Maybe they can do something with it. But above all of that, I want Carter Hart to put up Jonathan Bernier in Detroit numbers. I don't want him to be the problem. I do want him to bounce back, but I don't think that the players in front of him are particularly good enough to make up for that.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about Philly.
They're so tough to play against. They're so fucking tough. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's just like, it's a bunch of like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like, I feel like there's a lot of like top 6 guys, but there's so few like elite guys, like guys that you really look at and you say like, that's a guy that can lead my team to a Stanley Cup. Maybe like Sean Couturier. I love Sean Couturier. I think he's incredible. I really do. I like Ivan Provorov a lot. But yeah, like Travis Konechny.
He was linked to trade talks last year, man.
Well, yeah, because he was being scratched by Alain Vigneault. Like, that's not very good. But
Alan Vingold.
Yeah, Alan Vingold. A team that we have a friend of the show is a big fan of, went through a tumultuous offseason, to say the least. The New York Rangers. Miles, would you like to introduce this one?
The New York Rangers, who I will be nicknaming for the remainder of the season, the Little Buff Boys of the Metropolitan Division, who went 27, 23, and 6 last year for a .509 points percentage. And the reason that I'm calling them the Little Buff Boys, if you're not familiar with season 2 of Tim Robinson's sketch show, I Think You Should Leave, is because they put a lot of effort into getting bigger and stronger this offseason, tougher, some might even say. Some of the key additions: Barclay Goodrow, Ryan Reeves, Dryden Hunt, who is not a big buff boy. Dryden Hunt is a young, small lad. He's not young, he's my age. Jared Tenorti, what the fuck? Vitalia
No,
Kravtsov?
hold on. So
That sounds like a city in Italy.
So two other big buff boys and Sammy Blay and Patrick Nemeth. Vitaly Kravtsov was like my like wild card guy because he could make the team this year and like be quite good. But I wouldn't say he's like a Vitaly Kravtsov.
Doesn't that sound like a city?
Vitaly Kravtsov sounds like a
mining Russia.
It sounds like a Russian soccer player that got busted for PEDs.
No, it sounds like a port city that is known for coal.
Vitaly Kravtsov.
Why does everyone here have lung cancer?
Is this Chernobyl?
Big departures, Nolan. First and foremost, Pavel Buchnevich, who had 48 points himself last year. Between Barclay Goodrow, between Dryden Hunt, Ryan Reeves, and Barclay Goodrow, do you know how many points they had? 48.
Oh.
Move one out, bring three in, and you're getting the same production. That is a tough C to S.
And for like the same cap hit. Oh no.
Brett Howden also leaving. Philip DiGiuseppe, good name, left as a free agent. Colin Blackwell, expansion draft. Jack Johnson, not the country singer, or sorry, not the folk singer, but the hockey player. And our fan favorite, Tony D'Angelo, who was bought out, bitch. So some big additions, some big subtractions. I think the major question that is looming over the New York Rangers is that of where are our young guys going to go? Are they going to make a step up, or are they going to stay the same, or are they going to take a step back? And those guys, particularly being Kako and Alexis Lafreniere, in my opinion, because Adam Fox made a huge step last season, more than likely going to build on that this year. I don't think that he's a question mark, but those two young forwards are really the major question mark over this team, in my opinion.
So one quick thing I wanted to mention. I did not mention this in the Philadelphia Flyers bit, but because I forgot to mention my MVP. My MVP was going to be Sean Couturier. Anyways, moving on to the Rangers again. Yeah, with the Rangers, so much hinders on their young guys, and also hinders on the fact they hired Gerard Gallant. That is a huge addition in of itself if you don't have stinky David Quinn coaching you. Yes. Sorry,
Lafreniere, Kako, and Keandre Miller are the three young guys that I was talking about. I forgot about Keandre Miller. He's going to be he's going to big step. So,
yeah.
Gallant, continue.
Yeah, so Gerard, and apparently from everything you see, Gerard Gallant is going to really like hand the keys to the young guys. So with that being said, you really hope that this team can take the next step with those young guys. You need guys like Alexis Lafreniere to prove that he is worth that first overall pick, most hyped prospect since probably
Sidney Crosby.
No, Connor McDavid.
He wasn't.
What's that?
I was gonna say he wasn't quite McDavid hyped.
No, but he was probably the most hyped since him. Like, yeah.
Okay, fair. Yeah. Fair. We're splitting hairs.
Yeah. But I think that like that's going to be obviously so important. You have to hope that the defense plays a little bit better, and I think that when you have a guy like Gerard Gallant, that's going to be really huge. I'm not a big Jacob Trouba guy. I never have been. I really like Ryan Lindgren. I like the potential of Keandre Miller. Obviously, Adam Fox is a fucking superstar. And you still got Artemi Panarin. Yeah. Igor Shesterkin. And then there is
Georgiev too.
Yeah. I think actually Georgiev might be the certain trade chip for maybe a certain blue and orange team that might be looking for a potential goaltender. You never know. But then there's also the other factor, the elephant in the room, you might say, in the curly-haired fuck out of Buffalo. So, could that be a thing? Could that be a potential like, you know, could that be the move right there? But I don't like what this team decided to do this offseason. It makes me think Tom Wilson just got too much in their head and they sacrificed most of their, or like a really big chunk of their skill for grit and toughness and Stanley Cup leadership. And I just don't think those are winning moves for a hockey team, especially giving a 6-year contract worth nearly $4 million a year to Barclay Goodrow, who has like a career high points of like 20 or however the hell many he has. Really like Barclay Goodrow, like we've said on this pod before, but that's just not
for that amount.
That's just not a good move. But MVP, I gotta give it to Adam Fox. I think that he's going to be awesome. And my bold prediction is I firmly believe that Alexis Lafreniere will break out and will have at least 75 points.
I'm glad we can agree on a few things, Nolan. One of them is not our MVPs. I have my team MVP as Artemi Panarin. I'm a huge fan of his. He's probably top 3 player in the league for me personally. Like as a fan, I love him. Whatever. So he's my pick for team MVP. My bold prediction is that the dark horse who was not named in your solo episode, Chris Kreider, is going to be wearing the
Right,
C
I
for that
forgot
team.
about Chris Kreider. Whoopsie daisy.
And I really like what Chris Kreider is going to do for this team. I think between his leadership and Gerard Gallant as a coach, that those young guys that were mentioned are going to take a big step this year. I think that the Rangers are, despite what we were saying about them, going to be a better team this year. And I think that they make the playoffs as a wild card team.
I like it.
That is my bold prediction.
Okay. Moving on to the team
investing in the Rangers.
In stonks. Our next team, we probably don't really have to do too much time on because they really did almost nearly nothing. The New York Islanders with Lou Lamoriello. 32-17-7 for a .562 points percentage. Their key additions this offseason were Zach Parise, Zdeno Chara, Richard Panik, and obviously bringing in Eric Gustafsson on a PTO. Funniest part about all of these moves and also the Lou Lamoriello thing is that Zach Parise currently shows up on Cap Friendly as a UFA with absolutely no salary showing whatsoever. So he is signed by the Islanders, but nobody knows to what amount of money.
6 cold cut sandwiches per game.
It's just so much hair gel because he's so hot. Dude, Zach Parise fucking like might be the hottest player in the NHL.
Yeah, he's handsome.
He's
no
fucking
doubt.
so good looking.
Big fan of Zach Parise as well. But not a big fan of what the Islanders did this offseason. Some key departures, Nolan. Obviously, Travis Zajac retired, signed a 1-day contract with the Devils to retire with the team that he spent the large majority of his career with. Andrew Ladd was also told to pack his bags and head out of town. And Jordan Eberle was the lost player in the expansion draft, joining the Seattle Kraken. So those are 3 names that if you told me were leaving any team in like 2015, I would be like, holy shit, that's a big deal. But not so much in 2021, 2022. Largely keeping the bulk of their team unchanged. A team that went to the conference final last year.
And is solid. Like insanely deep. Like I always forget about JG Pajot. Like legit, always forget he is.
Yeah, no, he was a freak. He's a freak. He's a good hockey player. They're loaded up and down the lineup. Like you said, if you don't want to spend a whole heck of a lot of time on them, really, really good team. Sneaky good team. For me, it's tough to put anybody on this team other than we haven't even talked about their goaltenders. Semyon Varlamov and Sorokin are both 2 very, very good goalies. Ilya Sorokin, 2 very good goalies. So I'll start with my bold prediction. My bold prediction is that before the end of the year, Sorokin takes over the starting goalie reins. I think Varlamov's getting a little old. He was fantastic last year, but I think that it is Sorokin's time and that he's going to be very, very good. Just my opinion. And I am hard pressed to pick anybody on this team as the MVP other than Matthew Barzal. Very big fan of Matt Barzal.
I'm going to pick Adam Pelech because Adam Pelech he just seems to be like that whole identity revolves around a guy like Adam Pelech. And I just really, 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 really like him. And my bold prediction for this team is Noah Dobson takes over as the number 1 defenseman on this team this year. I really like Noah Dobson. I think when he was coming into the league, he was really raw, but has so much offensive upside, and I think that guy could be a total minute muncher on defense.
Boldest prediction is that Bavillier gets a date with Anna Kendrick.
Oh, that was a good prediction. I was gonna say Zach Parise drinks from the fountain of youth and scores 25 goals, which I could see.
Fuck you, Bill Guerin. Take your buyout and shove it up your ass.
As he's just, and then it's like a comically like twinkling smile at Bill Guerin.
And then Lou Lamoriello holds him in his arms, and all is well.
That's just such a good love story.
Just say yes.
The next team on our list, we're nearly near the end. Pittsburgh Penguins, 37-16-3 with a .616 points percentage. This team had a stinky offseason. They signed Brock McGinn to far too much money. They signed Danton Heinen to an alright deal, and then brought in Brian Boyle and Matt Barkowski on PTOs, and that is all they added. And losing, they lost Jared McCann, Brandon Tanev, and from your Edmonton Oilers,
Number 5, Cody Ceci. Oh, fuck.
I'm so scared.
Cody's easy. Adam Larson, where'd you go? Yeah. Let's get the elephant out of the room right away. Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin are both hurt to start the year. Ouchie.
Yeah,
Not something you like to
your
see.
number one center is Jeff Carter. 36-year-old Jeff Carter.
Fountain of youth. Even bigger elephant in the room. You did not move on from Tristan Jarry. Tristan Jarry still has the firm position of number one goaltender for your organization, with like a 36-year-old Casey DeSmith as your backup.
Not a good look.
Not entirely something that absolutely radiates positivity. So, what do you think about the Pittsburgh Penguins?
I hate doubting Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin. I really do. If they were not on this team, I would be picking them to miss the playoffs easy. But I cannot go against Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin, because every time I do, they fucking prove me wrong. And so I hated their offseason. I really did. But I still see this team making the playoffs and probably finishing like maybe top 4 in there, or like probably getting one of those wild card spots. I don't know if they're quite good enough to make like the top 3. But I mean, it goes without being said that Sidney Crosby is their MVP, and he will be forever and ever. Amen. Obviously you still have Chris Letang. You still have John Marino. Yikes. Speaking of Oilers. But I really don't like this team, but I can also admit that they do have still quite a bit of talent. I mean, you still have like Jake Gensel. You still have, oh my God, who was on Jason Zucker and Brian Rust as well. And like I said, Jeff Carter.
Carter Aston Reese as well.
Zach Aston Reese. But yes, Zach Aston.
What did I say,
yeah.
Carter?
Carter. It's okay.
Carter. I just love the Backstreet Boys.
Teddy Bluger as well is a really good, really good defensive player. So I still do like a lot of pieces on this team. They're still supremely well coached by Mike Sullivan.
Supreme.
They're just it's the Penguins. There's not much else you can say. My MVP obviously is Sidney Crosby, and my bold prediction is some guy from the minors that we have no idea who he is comes in and scores 20 goals this season, because that is a fucking classic Pittsburgh Penguins thing.
I like you being the optimistic ostrich. I will, for the first time,
bet against Sidney Crosby.
bet against Sidney Crosby. And I'm a big Sidney Crosby guy, okay? I love Sidney Crosby. I think he's a fantastic hockey player, but I don't think that the team around him is going to be able to compete with some of these younger up-and-coming teams inside of this division, as well as the next team that we're going to talk about that I think is a better group of wily veterans. We don't know the extent of Sidney Crosby's injury. We don't know what a nagging injury like that is going to be for him or for Malkin or for Chris Letang, who is getting up there as well. My team MVP for them is Getzel, and my bold prediction is that they miss the playoffs in 21-22.
Interesting. Well, Miles, would you like to bring it over to our number 7 team?
Yes, the team that we just spoke about, or I just alluded to, rather, the wily group of veterans being your Washington Capitals, who were 36-15-5 last year, good for a 625 points percentage. I don't want to fucking do this. Key additions in the offseason. Matt Irwin, you have Connor McMichael as the question mark prospect for them, but you forgot a huge addition, Nolan, being Dylan McIlrath. That was the type of offseason it was for Washington, where Matt Irwin and Dylan McIlrath were your two additions. Key departures, former San Jose Sharks fan favorite Brendan Dillon going to Winnipeg, Henrik Lundqvist retiring, Zdeno Chara obviously going within the division to the Islanders, and Richard Panik leaving as a free agent. Now, the Henrik Lundqvist departure isn't something that I think is totally detrimental to this team. He never played last year because of a heart condition. He finally called it quits officially this offseason. So we're sad to see the King leave the NHL, but again, not something that I think Washington was totally hanging their hat on. I think the departure of Brendan Dillon is going to hurt them definitely. Zdeno Chara, like we were saying before, didn't look terrible on the team last year. According to you, according to some fans, they really didn't like him. I think that's one of those things where I'll leave my opinion to Caps fans, people who actually watched games. I didn't watch a whole lot of Capitals games last year. But either way, that's two defensemen that were in your starting group that are no longer there. And it's going to be interesting to see who fills those roles and how those roles get filled. That being said, I think that from the trades that they made last deadline, really bolstered that forward group. The player that they got from Detroit, snap my fingers, I can't think of his name.
Anthony Mantha.
Anthony Mantha is going to be a huge addition for them, I believe. TJ Oshie is a glue guy, plays very well. Kuznetsov is still on the team, which is interesting. There was a lot of talk towards the end of last season that he was going to be on his way out or traded or something. So the fact that he's going to be there for training camp is going to be wonderful for them. And then as well, you've got Backstrom and Ovi as always. So the forward group is still pretty solid, in my opinion. John Carlson there on defense. He's a very talented offensive defenseman. Some people say Nolan is not one of those people. And then their goaltending in who are their goalies this year?
Samsonov and Vitek Vanacek.
Vanacek, the guy that went away and came back again.
Yeah.
If it comes back, it's yours. Nolan, what do you think about them Washington Capitals?
So we are actually the complete opposite on Pittsburgh and Washington.
I was going to say.
I really worry about this team's goaltending. Really, really, really worry about it because Samsonov has not been very good. Vitek Vanacek had pretty good rookie season. I really think they're gonna miss Brendan Dillon a lot. I think people are really underselling how much they're gonna miss him. And now you have to have Nick Jensen and Michael Kempney and all those guys as your regulars now in the lineup, which I think is a little concerning. You gotta hope that I think Ovechkin will still score 40 goals most likely because it's Alex Ovechkin. Backstrom is still pretty good, but you gotta worry about injuries. The Kuznetsov factor is massive, and I don't think can go understated. The fact of the matter is he was a shit last year. I'm not saying he was shit. I'm saying he was a shit, causing problems in the locker room. all the freaking COVID stuff, and then obviously like the looking into the trade, there was obviously the suspicious cocaine incident previously. Like there's just a lot of stuff with Evgeny Kuznetsov that just kind of concerns me, and I just think that this team is the candidate for like everything goes wrong. There's always one of those teams every season where it's like this team should be good, but everything goes wrong. And I could easily see that being the Capitals. And I think that, and especially with a lot of these young guys coming up, like they're going to make rookie mistakes and stuff like that. But I just get a very weird feeling about the Capitals. And like I said, I really don't trust their goaltending. So
who's your MVP? What's your bold prediction?
MVP, you know what? Even though it probably isn't, I'm still going to go with Ovi. I think he may not be able to hit his 50 goal peak anymore, but maybe, I mean, I could easily see 40 goals. And then as for bold predictions, I think for the first time in his career, Anthony Mantha will score 35 goals. I know I've used I know you have used the 35 number multiple times, and I'm sorry, but I really like Anthony Mantha. Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't like him, and I feel bad for him.
Fair. So like you said, I think we're complete opposites on Pittsburgh and Washington because I'm picking Ovi as my team MVP. I'm never not picking Ovi on the Capitals. Shout out to Ovechkin. I think that they are going to make the playoffs, despite what you're saying. I think that they are going to be like just too hot offensively. I think they're a very good regular season team. The Capitals always have been. I don't think that they're deep enough to do anything in the playoffs, and they're going to be an early exit, but I think that they'll grab that 3 seed in the division.
I like it. That's a good call. Well, Miles, on to number 8, and this is a fucking team to talk about.
This is the first team, Nolan, that was 100% vaccinated in the National Hockey League, even with Tony DeAngelo, which is impressive.
The QAnon king.
If they can do that, they can do anything. Who are we talking about? Obviously, it are the bunch of jerks, the Carolina Hurricanes, who went 36-12-8 last season. Good for a .634 points percentage. I don't want to say it. Key additions.
I don't want to say it either.
The biggest addition this season for them was Ethan Bear coming over in a trade from the Edmonton Oilers for Warren Foegele. Also bringing in Tony DeAngelo, which got 2 sad faces compared to Ethan Bear's 1 sad face.
To replace Dougie Hamilton, of course, just so everybody knows. Replacing Dougie Hamilton with Tony DeAngelo. I just need to make sure everybody knows that. Yeah.
That was the 1-for-1 swap on the blue line for
fucking
them.
unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Fucking unbelievable. Jesperi Kotkaniemi, who was offer sheeted so famously from the Montreal Canadiens. How did I do there, Nolan?
Pretty good.
Pretty good?
Yep.
Perfect. Derek Stepan, Josh Levio, I don't know. Ian Cole, Brendan Smith, Frederick Anderson from the Toronto Maple Leafs, and Antti Ranta from the Arizona Coyotes. Key departures, obviously, as mentioned, Douglas Hamilton, Alex Nedeljkovic, who was the goaltending rookie phenom going to Detroit for pennies on the dollar, Warren Foegele, newest Edmonton Oiler. Welcome to the team.
Sick.
Jake Bean also said see you later in a trade. Peter Mrazek, longtime goalie, with James Reimer, former Leaf, both saying see you later. Brock McGinn out of there. And Hayden Fleury, the lost player to the Seattle Kraken. Wow. I am looking at this key departures list, and my throat, it hurts. Like that, those are some dirty big names leaving that team. Those are some important players leaving that team. That's your number 1 defenseman. That's your number 1 goalie. That's your up and coming defenseman. That's a utility knife forward and Warren Foegele. Both your goalies. You're brand new in the crease. All your goalies. That's 3 goaltenders. Holy crap! No turnover in the goaltending room, which I guess isn't that big of a deal, but wow. Hayden Fleury, another young defenseman, and Brock McGinn. So essentially, when you're looking at these departures and what came back the other way, I still think that obviously with Dougie Hamilton and Nedeljkovic being gone, those are tipping the scales of despair in the departures, not totally evening out with who came back.
Yeah, I agree with that. I've been thinking about it a lot, and might be a bit of a hot take, but I kind of like the Frederick Anderson and Antti Ranta like duo over the Nedeljkovic and whoever's behind them. I don't know why. I might be very well alone in that, because I know both of those. I know that both of those goalies are very injury prone, but I think you put both of those guys behind Carolina's decor, because like at the end of the day, they still have Jacob Slavin and Brett Pesce, like two really great defensemen, and one of them like an all world like defensive defenseman. And just that team in front of them, you still got Aho, you still got Svechnikov, you still got freaking Tuvo Teravainen, you still got Marty Nichas, you still got Vincent Trocheck, Jordan Stahl. You're adding Jesperi Kotkaniemi to that mix. Like, this could be a team that is a full blown like fucking force in their division. Like they could blow through their division, and they could be riding on the coattails are guys like Tony DeAngelo. And I hate to say it because it pains me so much, but Ethan Bear is going to have an unbelievable season, I think, with Carolina.
Ethan Bear is playing on the third line, apparently, with Ian Cole. We'll see how camp goes, but that's where they've got him slated, which doesn't make me feel good for Ethan, and I think it's just going to be more of the same of what he had in Edmonton. So I might disagree with you a little bit there, but I do absolutely agree with you in terms of the goaltending perspective. Frederick Anderson was an NHL All-Star a few years ago. He's a very good goalie. We talk about injury-prone versus like just being an absolute dumb horse that was just getting ridden by the Toronto Maple Leafs into the ground with a team that didn't play terrific team defense. So he had a shitty hand dealt to him, got hurt, lost his confidence. Jack Campbell came in hot and took things away from him, and now he is in a much better situation in Carolina. And like you said, with Ranta as a tandem, I think that Frederick Anderson is going to get his form back. And he's going to get some credit as a legit NHL goaltender again. And I think he's going to be a big difference maker and game stealer for Carolina. So I agree with you with that forward depth that they have, the star players that they have, the defense that they have, and the players around them, top to bottom. I really, really like this team. My MVP is Sebastian Aho. Really like Sebastian Aho. I'm big on him. And my bold prediction is that they win their division.
My MVP is also Sebastian Aho, just because I really don't think you can go wrong with him. And my bold prediction is that they will make it to the conference finals.
Fair?
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, not bad. So yeah, that's it for the Metro.
No, it's not, Nolan, because we need to give you what I call Metro Boomin.
Oh, right. Yeah.
How do you think the division is going to shape up? We've kind of given away some of our picks in terms of our bold predictions of where we think teams are going to end up, but I have the Metro finishing as the Carolina Hurricanes, the New York Islanders, the Washington Capitals as your 1, 2, 3 playoff seeds, the New York Rangers as your wild card in 4th, Philadelphia in 5th, Pittsburgh in 6th.
Wow.
The Devils in 7th, and Columbus in 8th.
How dare you besmirch the name of Columbus?
I fully believe that Pittsburgh and Philly could flip-flop, but I am very, very confident myself, obviously, in my top 4.
So I've got Carolina 1. I've got... I can't believe I'm fucking saying this. Hold on. I've got the Island. As much as I don't want to pick them second, I think they are going to finish second. I'm going to go Islanders second. I'm going to go Pittsburgh third and Columbus fourth, with Washington in 5th No, sorry. Rangers in 5th. Washington in 6th. And then Devils in 7th. And no, sorry. Flyers in 7th and Devils in 8th. Sorry. I know it was all around the place. So, Carolina, Islanders, Pittsburgh, Columbus. I already fucked this up again. Oh, Rangers, Capitals, Flyers, and then the Devils. Although I do think the Devils next year will make the playoffs. Next season.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you either, but we'll do that in season 3's for the Metro Division.
By the time we'll have a sponsor, hopefully.
And it'll be Mass Mutual.
It'd be Patagonia.
Dude, I love hiking. So yeah, that is about all I have to say about the Metro Division. I think we've talked fair enough about it. Really stoked for the season to get started. Nolan, do you have any thoughts?
No, I'm just excited to be doing this. I'm really looking forward to this season. Like I'm really, really, really excited. I'm happy we finally got the Jack Michaels interview out, which is really cool. I really hope people like that. I am back to watching all of the training camp press conferences for the Oilers, which is just like making my heart melt and getting me so excited. And my goodness, just Zach Hyman just seems like a treat of a human being. And yeah, I'm just really excited. So that's about it. Looking forward to watching hockey again.
Yeah, I cannot wait. Nolan, review on the cider. Don't think, just say out of 5, how many stars?
You know, I liked it more at the cider tasting place. I did not like it as much as...
So much for the don't think, just say, hey?
I'll give it a 4.
4. I like that.
Yeah.
I like
4's
that for
pretty
you.
good.
I like that
4's pretty good. But I finished the cider, and I think with that, we are finished the podcast. Miles, did you have any last things you wanted to say before we head on out of here?
As always, Nolan, before we head out, just want to say thanks for your support. Excited for season 2. We are ready to rock and roll. Hope you are too. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Don't forget to give us a little bit of a review. Tell your friends. And as always, go Oilers, go.
Go Oilers, go.